The stigma of addiction started way back in the 1930s when scientists began studying addictive behavior because people addicted to drugs and alcohol were thought to be morally flawed. And those views shaped society's responses to addiction, treating it as a moral failing rather than a health problem, which led to an emphasis on punishment rather than prevention and treatment. Alcohol addiction was declared a disease by the American Medical Association way back in 1954. Welcome to 2018, where addiction is still viewed by many as a lack of willpower and a character flaw, and is amazingly still approached with punishment rather than treatment in many communities. The punishment approach brings with it a powerful shame and stigma that influences our laws, our services, research, healthcare, and support for people with the disease of addiction. Now more than ever, we must be driven by data and facts and recognize the science behind the chronic brain disease of addiction. Scientists, physicians, and even the Surgeon General agree that addiction is a disease. When people have the chronic brain disease of addiction, their brain gets hijacked in a biological way, manipulating dopamine levels to tell the person the highest priority in their life is the disease of addiction, and the only choices are drugs and alcohol. It's hard for people to accept the concept that addiction is a disease. I know how hard it is because I didn't believe it myself. I thought I could make the right choices. I thought I could do the right thing. But after relapsing for 8 years and literally thinking that I must be insane, I now understand that no one would choose to live that life. In North Dakota, we're focusing on several innovative initiatives. We're working hard to eliminate the shame and stigma of addiction in our state. We will be using evidence-based methods to create a system to measure our progress on eliminating stigma. In collaboration with our behavioral health team and the Addiction Policy Forum, we are conducting a survey to establish a baseline measurement for stigma that we can measure against in the future. Data will show if we're moving the needle. Data helps drive funding. Data can change minds and create systems to ultimately save lives. 80% of those incarcerated in our state have an addiction. They need treatment and not incarceration. During the last 30 years, it was thought that more punishment would mean less addiction. Those with the disease of addiction who are convicted of nonviolent, possession-related crimes carry the extra burden and stigma of being a felon when they are released from prison. And they often receive no treatment for their disease while incarcerated. After doing their time and paying for their crimes, felons can't find jobs and they can't find places to live. The felony discrimination towards the disease of addiction perpetuates the cycle of addiction. Through an innovative program called Free Through Recovery, we are giving those dealing with substance abuse who become entangled in the legal system the opportunity to recover successfully in their communities with care coordinators, with support from care coordinators and peer support specialists. And reimbursement for the Free Through Recovery program is outcome-based, with opportunities for incentive funding for meeting performance benchmarks. This reimbursement model is innovative and unprecedented, and this model pays for wellness and recovery. And the program is working. I encourage all of you participating in policy development around the disease of addiction at both the federal and state levels to include people in recovery, to help shape the policy that can truly make a difference. Bring those with lived experience to the table to show what recovery looks like and help provide the hope for the future. Now is the time to put aside stereotypes and put aside intolerance. Now is the time to come together to help those suffering from the disease of addiction. Now is the time for every one of us to take action in our own lives, in our work, and in our communities. There's no shame in addiction, and there's so much hope and possibility in recovery. I am like more than 23 million other people across our great nation who has the disease of addiction. And I am a face and voice of recovery. Thank you.